Every judicial circuit is required to have a sexual assault protocol. Unfortunately, not all of them are complying. And so we thought about it and just came up with a simple reporting mechanism for that to be the simplest way to enforce compliance. And they will have to notify the governor, lieutenant governor, speaker of the House, chief justice of the Supreme Court of any non-compliant judicial circuits, because we want everybody to actually have the protocol, which is already required by law. Section 3 is a change in language, but it is a significant change in language. The current language reads, if the victim does not cooperate with law enforcement in the investigation. What that means is when a victim presents at either an emergency room or a sexual assault crisis center, the victim may or may not want to report to law enforcement immediately. There could be very compelling reasons for that, such as incest or some really terrible situations, but it's critical for the evidence to be taken in a timely manner. The way that it's written now of if the victim does not cooperate is viewed by victims and survivors as being very negative because it infers that they are not doing something that they are supposed to. So the proposal is to change the language just so it's more factual. So it would state, if the victim chooses not to report the alleged sexual assault to law enforcement at the time of evidence collection. So a very simple change, but one that we think is significant. The next part of the bill is really the meat of the bill, and this is Section 4. For probably the last 4 years, we've been working to try to set up a sexual assault tracking system. We track things all the time in different contexts, and we know where something is at every step along the logistics chain. Forgive that sort of analogy, but we want to do something similar for survivors. So from the point of evidence collection to the courtroom, they can know where that evidence is. And then if there are hits, meaning if DNA evidence matches to somebody that is in our database, we want to alert the victims, because right now that communication process, it doesn't exist. So that's what we're trying to solve. CJCC, Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, will have the oversight for this. They've been working on it for several years. So this would set it up. This would compel them to get it up, get it running. It will be rolled out in a phased process, so we took a very sort of careful, nuanced approach to it. I can certainly go into the details if you'd like, but that's the overall idea in conception, is to have a tracking system. So really what I think HB 255 is about in whole is about this section, having the tracking system. And then the last part in Section 5 is it would set up coordination with the FBI's Violent Criminal Apprehension Program, VICAP. These are the worst of the worst crimes, truly. They are your serial murderers, serial rapists. These cases are often very difficult to solve. So this would have a evidence sharing between our law enforcement with the FBI. They specifically asked for this. I've worked with them over the last year on the language, and they're pretty excited about it because they think that if this passes, they will get more evidence put into a database that could ultimately solve crimes. So that's the bill. For the extent that it's helpful to you or of interest, it passed 174 to nothing. In the House, I've also had communications with the governor's office because I wanted to make sure that if they had any concerns, we could address them before final passage, and they did not raise any concerns and are generally supportive of the policy. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I want to say thank you again for the great work you did. I have spoke to CJCC as well as our state and federal counterparts, and they are all very appreciative of this bill, and they are indeed excited about making sure that we have this evidence properly dispensed with, and we can move forward and put the bad actors away. And thank you for the work we've done in the past by hiring additional scientists with the GBI, as well as work they've done for using some third parties now to test those kits. So very well.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see, I've got a question from Senator Anderson.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have a question. I want to thank you for bringing this legislation. At the proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
All right, let's just see if we got any other questions first. Senator Robertson, do you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you for bringing this forward. A couple of quick questions. What's the cost to develop this database for CJCC?
Thank you, Senator Robertson. It is, there is a fiscal note, which I did provide to you all. Hopefully you have a copy. If not, I can tell you what the numbers are. We have grant monies right now, so there's no fiscal impact until fiscal year 2023. From 2023 until 2027, it's approximately $56,000. And then after fiscal year 27, it goes up to about $81,000 is the expectation. We may continue to receive grant monies, but the fiscal office looked at it in the event that the grant monies went away. And so if the grant monies went away, it would be that 50,000 2023 to 2027, and then 81,000 2027 forward.
And to be clear, all your database is doing is tracking the kit. So if the kit is in a prosecutor's office, if it's with the GBI or some other law enforcement agency, basically it's being tracked by a serial number related to the particular kit. So, and anything related to running it through DNA searches through APHIS or whatever other system to try to marry up with a suspect. The kit stays where it is. You maintain it in your inventory while law enforcement does the investigation that they're required to do. And then at the time, of course, I like the part about the victim being able to see the information also. But then at the time that where a hit is made and you arrest the perpetrator, then you know where the evidence is, you know everything that's done, so the chain of custody still rock solid through all that. It's just giving you guys the ability to keep the evidence under a microscope, I guess, to make sure it doesn't get lost, misplaced, or anything like that.
That's right, Senator. And what I'd also point you to is on page 4 of the bill, there are going to be reports that are going to be generated, which are going to talk about how much time it takes to test and other factors. Ultimately, where we want to go is reduce the incidence of violence to begin with. So we're going to try to use some metrics and data from this, should we choose to set it up, to also help with the big picture policy of reducing sexual violence.
Sexual assault, yeah. Thank you. Very good piece of legislation. Thank you.
All right, I've got a question from Senator Kim Jackson.
It's not actually a question, just a word of gratitude. Representative Holcomb, I started outside in the hallway working with this, with you 5 years ago, and just want to thank you so much for standing up and fighting on behalf of largely women. And I know you've said this in the past, but women cannot be protected from sexual assault unless men step up. And so I thank you on behalf of women in the state for stepping up to help us be protected. So thank you.
Well said. Any other questions? Okay, I actually have a motion already from Senator Anderson, but you're going to do a second? All right, so I've got a motion to pass from Senator Lee Anderson, a second from Senator C. Is there any further discussion from the committee members? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Passes unanimously, and who will be carrying this for you on the Senate side?
Mr. Chairman, I need some help if you're open to helping me.
I would be most honored.
Thank you, sir.
So, great. Okay, wonderful bill. Thank you all so much. Everyone have a wonderful day. This will again be the last final full meeting for the committee. We are going to have some off-session meetings, though, both for some bills, as well as we are going to make at least a couple of field trips. We'll be going down to Gypstick one day, something that Chairman Harper did a few years ago when he chaired the committee. That was a lot of a real good learning experience for everybody. We'll be doing at least one tour of a jail or two of the state corrections institutions, and last but not least, we'll be going and doing some tours of the GBI and the labs. So, but if you've got any other ideas or something you'd like to do, I'd appreciate that. Senator Robertson, do you have a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we'll also be doing a whitewater adventure down in Columbus, Georgia, for the committee.
I think that's an excellent idea.
But what I want to do is I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your leadership during this session. Because of the pandemic and other things beyond our control, the leadership that you have shown here has kept us all focused, kept us on track, and I cannot thank you enough for your professionalism, your leadership, and being our guide through these turbulent waters that we face in 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm a reflection of this committee. Thank you all. Have a great day. And I know we've got other committees to get to. This meeting is hereby adjourned.